Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Donna McPherson, who is a business consultant and profit strategist. Welcome to the program, Donna.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Hey, so give us a little bit of your background and what led you to starting your firm and focusing on working with business owners and entrepreneurs, focusing on their profit, really. Because I love the word strategist, because that shows that you're rolling up your sleeves, getting into the business and strategizing on how they can improve. But what led you to this field?
Oh, wow, Mike. I actually started in public accounting. I am also a certified public accountant for over 23 years. So I started in public accounting. I did some financial auditing overseas as well as here in the U.S. And then from that, I was the CFO for a company in New York. And then having all that business and financial experience, an opportunity came for me to have my own business. And so I started my own practice about 12 years ago. I got to tell you, my first go around was not so great because I made some of the same mistakes entrepreneurs make first out the gate, not paying attention to the most important things. But fortunately, I was able to correct that quickly. And so my second business, a restaurant, I was able to do exactly what I needed to do to take that restaurant to the next level. And on our exit, we actually tripled our investment. So there's some things that I learned from running my own business that prompted me to first wanting to teach it to other entrepreneurs, and then wanted to put it in a book. So that's how I wrote the book, The Price of Fake is Real, How to Stop Pretending and Have Real Business Success.
Well, I love that because it's like, hey, I graduated from college and then the next month I started my business consulting clients and teaching them No, you don't have the experience, but you made some mistakes, some successes, and learned, and then we're thinking, hey, I had the machete and chopping down the weeds here, and so I'm forging the path. Let's have some other entrepreneurs that are trying to do the same thing, avoid the same, stumbles and hurdles that I did. So I love that approach. Let's dive right into what are some of the things that people are making the mistakes in, some of the topics that you cover in your book.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the first mistakes that I made myself is I set up office and spent a lot of money on a lot of the shiny object things to look good, and did not pay enough attention to spending money to attract the right clients, to get the right business, to make money. So I got exactly what I invested in. I looked good, but I didn't make money because I did not invest in making money. I invested in an image. And that is.
But were you attracting clients? They just weren't the profitable ones?
No. The only clients that I attracted, that I got there, were the clients that came to me through referral. I did not set up a system to attract new business in that new area. I thought that by just putting up my shingles, Donna McPherson, certified public accountant, they would come. And we all know people got a life, no one trusts you, especially with money. But with most businesses, before they give you their money.
Well, that's a good point because, some of the most untrusted professions are like, used car salesman, you can imagine. Yes. But one of the most trusted professions, CPA. So if that is the case and that's the industry you're jumping into, you've got a competitor or 3 million, or you're not the only one. So, if you were the only one that had the cure for whatever, or the only one that had this proprietary something else, then hang the shingle and people can come. But you're in a field where people need to go, prove it, or, I need the KLT factor, the know, like, and trust. So you've got to develop that.
Yes, absolutely. But one of the things that I believe that I do differently from traditional CPAs Most CPAs, they're great at, letting you know how you've done for the year, maybe giving you some projections and helping you with your taxes. Wonderful to have CPAs around. But one of the things you do not get from some of them, are strict guidance, like concrete guidance on what you can do up front to get the kind of money that you think you should have. Like most people are not making the kind of money that they think they should have because they're not set up to do it. So they dream of success, but they're in essence operating to fail because they don't have a success path or plan.
Yeah. I've heard a quote, and I you hear these quotes and you associate it with the source that you heard it from, and I'm sure that it's been out there forever and a day. But I heard it from a book written by Jeffrey Gitomer talking about the Patterson principles. But it goes, you need to build capacity in advance of demand. Well, if you just had some wonderful success and you get wonderful influx of business and you don't have the capacity to handle it, now things implode. So you need to be getting those deals and networking, but you need to have that capacity, and that goes to your point about having the systems and structure so that people see you as credible. And then when the business comes in, you can handle it and you're confident. You're not feeling tentative about, well, I think I can do this deal but you're scattered, So talk a little bit about the systems and structures that you recommend in your book.
One of the things I talk about in my book is you got to understand what are the most important things at that stage of your business. Oftentimes, people would look at somebody else's business and think they should be able to do that, but they don't understand what it took for that person to get there, and they don't understand their resources and their capacity, as you just talked about. So it's at your stage in your business, what are the most important things for you? How do you know how much money you can make? And then do you have a plan to make it? And then do you have a way of knowing when you're going off track and you're not going to make it? For example, I was working with someone. The first thing I said to him, okay, Rod, how much money would you like to make? And he said, $75,000. And I said, $75,000 gross, net, after tax? And he had no idea.
Per month, annual? Yeah, what?
Right, yeah. And I said, where did that number come from? And he looked at me and he said, I really don't know. I think I was just trying to replace my salary.
Yeah.
And so the long and short of it is, he really needed to generate double that amount to net that. He needed to generate $150,000 in order to see $75,000, and that is before tax.
Yes.
And that is what I mean when I said they don't understand what it takes to make the money that they want to make.
And you see this so many times. I'm sure you're a avid student of Shark Tank, the best business teaching show. I mean, literally, we'll watch it as a family. I've got 4 kids, and we've watched it for years. But even several years ago when they were, 14, 16 years old, they would say, okay, and I'm asking for $100,000 for 20% equity, and I'm like, okay, so what's the business valuation? And they knew the calculation to go, $500,000, because just that math formula. But when you watch Shark Tank, and I know that what you just said there is so true, because people think, I grossed $1 million. We made $1 million last year. Hey, that's wonderful. But if you had a advertising budget of $900,000, you only have $100,000. And then furthermore, if you had rents and salaries of X, you might be under. So it doesn't matter about your top line. It matters. Money.
It really doesn't
matter.
Now,
guess what? You need to have that eye on the top line, because if you did $1 million, next year you need to do 1 point whatever, but it's all about what comes down at the bottom net, because that is what you can do something with. And it sounds so obvious to hear it that way and to say it that way, but every single day I'm sure you run into people that either, like your example there, he just didn't know, didn't realize, but people that are even business owners, they're like, look at the top, and it's like, yeah, that's nice, but look, what are all these expenses? And you know what? Here's something else. let me freeze this in the question, and I'm confident you cover this in the book. Okay, great, wonderful. We need to have you, strategize about how we can make more profit. So I need to pour more money on ads and get more sales in. Maybe, because if you don't have the holes in the bucket plugged up, then here come all these extra expenses that you might not need, or extra processes you might not need. So sometimes the solution is not just getting more sales or increasing the revenue. You might need to do that, but at the same time, you need to plug up those holes in the bucket.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the first things that I do when I'm working with a new client, I get to understand their industry. And then I look at their industry numbers, because too often people guess or they use somebody else's numbers, and there's no need for that. Your industry numbers tells you how much you can possibly make from your business in profit. And if you operate like those leaders are, those winners are, you can do the same thing. If you generate $1 million and your industry says your profit margin is 10%, you can get 100,000, but you have to operate efficiently in a way that's profitable, so you can see that. And oftentimes people jump in and start spending money and start scaling their business with a model that's not profitable, and that's the fastest way to go out of business.
And I would say, of course, that's obvious, but then now the bullet points up underneath that are, well, how do you do that? How do you fix that? Well, you need to have solid business practices in place. And that is on the incoming revenue as well as the outgoing expenses and managing employees and managing R&D, if that's a part of it. But there's all of these moving pieces that need to be assessed and analyzed. And what are you seeing is one of the low-hanging fruit, obvious things that you see right off the bat that many people don't see, that you can come in and get some quick wins in a business?
People spend their time on things that are not income generating. They're not spending their time. If you are the key person in the business and you're spending your time on a bunch of administrative stuff, if you can bill or get $300 per hour for your time, and you're doing work that you can outsource to an admin person for $15 or whatever per hour, you are wasting resources. You're wasting your time. People find it really hard to spend money in places where they need to in order to make money and save money. And that's the biggest downfall, spending money in the wrong time.
Let's take a peek at that, because I agree with that 100%. And sometimes the business owner might not see that because they're in the midst of it. You can't see the forest for the trees. So when they get that outside source looking at things like yourself, you can see it. But then maybe there's an exercise that they can go through, such as, hey, let's take a look at your numbers and see where you're spending money. That's easy, because show me your books and all of the profit loss and all that. So that's simple. But how about this? Let's track, Mr. or Ms. Business Owner. What did you make last year? Like net, whatever number you want to look at. And then how many hours a week do you work, realistically? Not just, 40 hours. No. Literally, how many? Oh, wow! I guess I worked. I thought 45, but I guess I'm putting in 70 because I'm on all the time. So what if you could track every day for, let's just call it 30 days? I started work here at this time, and every hour write down what you did, just in broad strokes. And then in the end of 30 days, and this is my question, is do you think this would be a good process? The end of 30 days, you can see easily how many hours you worked and what you did, and then you can calculate one important thing, which is, what is your hourly rate if you were to calculate that, Mr. or Ms. Business Owner? Because now you can do what you said, like, okay, hold up. Your hourly rate is, whatever, $150 an hour, in reality. And look at this here. You have all over the place this week and this month, all these little admin menial tasks that the highest and best use of your time at $150 an hour is not researching this and data entry that. Get yourself a virtual assistant or an assistant or a something, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I had a client do that. The same client that couldn't figure out how much he can make. I said, here's what I want you to do. For everything that you do, I want you to use an app on your computer, log your time.
Yeah.
When you do client work, log what you do and your time. And he said that was the most valuable exercise that he did, because then he learned how to say no. He learned how to say, I cannot take that on without additional billing or without an additional amount. Because what he found, he said, Donna, I was literally working for minimum wage in my own business.
Yes.
And that was painful. He was like, what the heck? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? No wonder I've been in the same place for years and wondering why I'm not making money, because I charged somebody $1,000 for 4 hours of work or 5 hours of work, and I spent all day on it and was happy that I had the business, so I didn't want to say anything.
Yep. But the problem is you had $400 worth of expenses and then your own personal time, where if you did have maybe that assistant or a project manager, that could take even half of the time. Because let's face it, he probably needed to be involved in that project, but maybe not the whole time.
Not
but
that
if you could free up chunk of it, half of it, and now you then are the thought leader, you're the person going out there doing the other things to bring in the new business, and then the same process happens. Yeah, that's a really big tip. That's a big win.
But one good thing came out of that, a great thing came out of that, because he spent so much time documenting what he did. He was able to document his process, and then we took that and determined what he needed to do and what someone else could do, and started outsourcing it.
Yeah, that's
so a great thing came out of that.
So you talk about the fact that it might not be the most wonderful thing to focus on building 6- and 7-figure businesses because it sends the wrong message. What do you mean by that?
Because making money is not having money. You can make money and still not have money. If you build a 6- or 7-figure business and you're still not getting paid the income that you want, all you're doing is building a business that pays everybody else but you. You're building a business that takes all of your 6- or 7-figure to run. Unless you're a nonprofit, that's not a business.
Yeah, it's a job.
It's a job, and it is a company that you're not going to be able to have any value in. You're not going to be able to use to leverage, to get funding, financing, to even attract an investor, because you're showing that your business is not profitable if you're not able to get the optimal profit from it. It's not I think people sometimes see it as a great thing to brag about their 6- or 7-figure business. And I wrote about this in my book, The Price of Fake is Real, that pretending that you have a business that is successful when it's really not, because it's not paying you, it's painful, and it's robbing you of your time that you could be using for other things, enjoying your family, doing whatever you do with your time, than running a business that looks good on the outside but is messed up on the inside.
Yeah, and I think that I've heard this many times. If a business owner, if you were to say to them, hey, you've got this wonderful opportunity to go on a 2-month vacation, what would happen to your business? Many and most might say it would crumble because I'm part of every aspect and Well, if you have set things up the right way, building capacity in advance of demand, that concept and systems and things like that, you need to have someone that, you need to be the head of the business and guiding, but you also need to have people that, get new contracts in and onboard the contracts and project manager and make sure things get going and all of these things, so that if you stepped out for a month or two, you could actually take a vacation without, oh my word, what? Checking the phone or the email. So, I think that is such a big thing, and that, in fact, I interviewed Jim Muehlhausen, who he launched a new concept in a book called Half Retire, HALF. So he goes, so many people. Wow. I mean, the concept is, I'm going to retire. Well, most business owners, they're type A plus, and they don't really want to retire, but they want to get out of the day to day. So they retire, and 2-3 months later they're bored to tears. So they really don't want to retire. So the concept of half retire is to set your business that you built and nurtured for decades, set it up so that you can go in, let's just call it 3 days a week and 2 days a week, or whatever you want to do, and you're still part of it, and you still have input, but the day-to-day, the heavy lifting, the slogging through the day-to-day is all on someone else, and maybe you got a partial buyout, and you're thrilled and happy because when everything blows up in the office in the day, you're going to give a little input, but then wave and go, have a nice night, see you next Tuesday. So I think that's a really big thing that you bring up there.
Absolutely.
So let's wrap up with this, Donna. I think that it's really neat. I love the title of your book. What's the best way that someone can reach out, learn more about your business and your business consulting and your concepts that you work on, as well as pick up a copy of your book?
Well, someone can pick up a copy of my book by just Googling The Price of Fake is Real. It'll take them right to my website where they can get a copy of the book. And my website is my name, Donna McPherson, CPA.com.
That is awesome.
I just want to leave people with just 3 things. If you wanted to become an entrepreneur or business owner so you can have more freedom, and that freedom comes with a little more money. And if you're serious about making money, you have to set your business up for success. Know how much is possible for you at that stage of your business. Create a plan to get it. I call it a profit recipe, and it is in my book, The Price of Fake is Real. And track your progress so you can know if you're on track, if you're falling off, or what you're going to do about it. You do those things, and you will be on track with your financial goals.
Excellent. Well, Donna, thank you so much for coming on today. It was really fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.